We traditionally approach ancient texts as chronicles, a sequence of events and historical actors moving across a linear timeline. Structural analysis of the Quran reveals a topological engine, a closed system framework governed by singular, recursive logic. This is the 237 protocol, a processing algorithm appearing at every scale, managing the transition of information through 3 phases: division, formation, and return. In this system, prophetic figures like Adam, Nuh, Mūsā, and ʿīsā operate as functional phase states. They represent specific configurations of the field. Each name executes an identical mathematical recursion, ensuring the system maintains coherence regardless of the narrative context. This mapping provides a rigorous framework for analyzing how complex systems maintain equilibrium through extreme disruption. To understand the engine, we must define the 3 abstract operators that drive it. The first phase is Razim. Razim is a strict bifurcation. It is the operator of the split, where an initial value is divided, reducing n to n over 2. This symmetry breaking is the systemic equivalent of exile, forgetfulness, or a loss of initial cohesion. The system responds to this fracture through the second phase, the Raḥīm operator. Raḥīm drives structural expansion. By applying the operator 3n plus 1, the system multiplies and aligns fragmented data into an organized, layered lattice. This phase constructs the complex structures and survival sets needed to process the information lost during the initial split. The final phase is Raḥmān, the operator of the conservation loop. Raḥmān forces a return to unity. It collapses the expanded system back to the value of 1. The system restores its baseline, but it now exists at a higher phase state, carrying the memory and structural complexity of the entire cycle. These 3 operators form a thermodynamic cycle. Every fracture necessitates a structural response, which eventually forces a return to a unified whole. We can verify this logic by running the foundational Adam circuit through the 237 algorithm. The circuit begins with the Razim split. Adam forgets the command, creating exile. In calculus, this is the difference quotient, isolating a shift between states. This memory fracture establishes the infinitesimal difference required for measurement and change. The Raḥīm operator then initiates the expansion. The n equals 3n plus 1 formula engages. The fragmented nodes rapidly multiply, generating a highly structured, branching phylogenetic tree representing the lineages. The system organizes into robust lineages: Nuh, Imran, Ibrāhīm. This is the limit operation. As the system expands to survive, it extracts a stable law of change from the chaos. The cycle concludes with the Raḥmān operator. All lineages converge back into the word in the form of ʿīsā. This is the definite integral, the sum of all changes integrated over time back into a restored unity. By splitting the state, extracting a law of change through structural growth, and integrating that growth back into a whole, the narrative executes the same logic found in the fundamental theorem of calculus. Every major name in the text follows this extension rule. They are iterations of the same equation, shifting only in their operational context. We will now run 4 disparate circuits through the loop simultaneously: Nuh, Ibrāhīm, Mūsā, and Yūsuf. The Razim split triggers across all 4 systems. For Nuh, systemic corruption creates the fracture of the flood. For Ibrāhīm, the split occurs through the physical breaking of societal idols. For Mūsā, the fracture is the divide between the enslaved and the tyrant. For Yūsuf, the exile begins at the bottom of the well. The Raḥīm structure phase engages to counter these traumas. Noor organizes the Ark logic, a resilient, grouped alignment of survivors. Ibrāhīm builds new, multi-generational lineages. Mūsā implements the Torah's legal architecture to organize a fragmented people. Yūsuf builds a centralized governance and rationing system to sustain Egypt. The Raḥmān operator forces a return to unity. The floodwaters recede. The Kaaba is anchored. The sea is crossed. The family is unified. These narratives, though culturally and historically distinct, demonstrate that the logic of trauma, structure, and resolution remains invariant. When we overlay these circuits, they collapse into a single unified circuit. The system resolves into a 3-layered Mobius strip. This topology is required because the end of the return phase must feed directly back into the beginning of the split without losing continuity. The first layer is Razim, the inevitable fragmentation of memory. On a Mobius strip, this is the inflection point where the orientation of the system shifts. The second layer is Raḥīm. This is the continuous structural surface that carries the system through its transformation. The third layer is Raḥmān. Because a Mobius strip has only one side, the return isn't a separate path. It is the same truth being revealed from a completed perspective. The 237 protocol reveals the Quran as a recursive embedding. The end of each narrative cycle generates the conditions for the next. This creates a closed theological loop. Every fracture forces a structural response. Every structure forces a unified return. The 237 protocol provides the mathematical proof for how the universe maintains order through a perpetual cycle of division, formation, and return.